Would you like to know if someone is hedging or not? Are they exaggerating, or are they telling you the truth about what they think? Or are they just trying to make you think that that's what they think? I'm Joshua Lisec. I am the New York Times bestselling author, co-author, ghostwriter of 97 nonfiction books, and a certified hypnotist. It's through these unique experiences I curate current events to teach you how to influence the VIPs of your life and your career. You might have seen some viral video clips of the California Governor Gavin Newsom character speaking over to the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, formerly the running mate of the alcoholic. And Walz is in the news, of course, for talking about how overjoyed he is, how happy he is that at that particular moment, Tesla's stock was beginning to go down a little bit following the domestic terrorism targeting Tesla owners, people setting them on fire, people shooting at Teslas out on the street and in parking lots, keying their cars, other vandalism, including fire. And of course, there could be people in these vehicles. There could be dogs in these vehicles. There could be little children in these vehicles. And they don't care. They're terrorists. I wrote the book on it with Jack Posobiec. This is what they do. And this is what people like Tim Walz do, celebrating the fact. It's as if the left takes every anti-American position that they can. They root actively against Americans, American citizens, American interests, American companies, American workers, in order to get Trump. Gotta get Trump. Get Trump. That's all they think about. Just a few days ago, the global left was lamenting how Dublin and other cities in Ireland are no longer safe. They went from being one of the safest cities to one of the most dangerous cities. I was in Dublin in 2016. I expected to see beautiful, slim, red-headed Colleens. I instead saw overweight Lebanese loitering, smoking cigarettes. Back to what I promised you. Governor Newsom and Governor Walz were chatting on this podcast because they're trying to mimic this dynamic of Joe Rogan and sort of the podcast anti-establishment or non-establishment, I should say, media. And so everyone on the left has a podcast that no one listens to. Probably most hilarious was Craig Robinson, alleged brother. I don't know if he's actually the brother of Michelle Obama. There's a claim that they are. I think I've seen Robinson in some things before. I don't know if when she says, "This is my brother," she actually means "this is my brother" or "this is my brother." I don't. I to this day I don't know. I don't know. In any case, those episodes are getting a few thousand views. It's amazing. It's amazing. The former First Lady Michelle Obama, in her video podcast is getting not millions, not tens of millions, not hundreds of thousands, but thousands of views. Hundreds might even say. Hilarious. Now, back to what I promised you. In this particular podcast clip that I want to point out, Tim Walz, whom we are calling Tampon Tim famously, over his insistence that teenage boys need tampons. I feel like there was a movie about that in the late 90s, early 2000s, making fun of that tampons are for nosebleeds or something. But I don't think that's the joke that's being played here. Anyway, Tampon Tim, he said to Governor Newsom of the MAGA Americans, he said, quote, "I think I scared them a little bit." Referring to, and this in the context of them talking about masculinity and how it's actually the real men are on the left and the real men respect women for more than their bodies. Okay, so you're actually a predator. That's what predators say, sort of disguise themselves. It doesn't usually work on anyone who is in their right mind. But because liberalism is a mental illness, it tends, unfortunately, to work on the mentally ill. It's not yet clear if liberalism causes the mental illness or if someone is mentally ill and then they become liberal. That's not yet certain. I think I could argue it both ways. Here's the thing, Tampon Tim. Masculine men don't use linguistic hedge prefixes. Like, I think, I scare them a little bit. And you also don't emphasize a little bit. That's a little bit redundant. You would say, if you actually meant what you were saying, I scare them. You would just say that. I think I scare them a little bit. I scare them. Two completely different experiences listening to that. Just listen. I think I scare them a little bit. No, you don't scare anybody, but I think I scare them. You're actually a little bit afraid. You're like, whoa, holy shoot, when you hear that. Someone who is actually fearsome says it that way. But someone who doesn't believe they're fearsome, but wants you to think that they are, because your audience is word cells. They're word celibate, meaning they can't think beyond the literal language that's being used or beyond the words that are being used. You know, they say that there's some people who don't understand humor. About 37% of the population can't understand humor. You usually find those people on the left. That's not funny, they say in response to a funny joke. Even if it's offensive, inoffensive, it doesn't matter. I don't get it. That's not funny. That's about 30% of the country. I think those people are probably on the left because the left is famously anti-humor first. Because if you can't joke about it, then they own it. If you can't joke about it, they own it. Understand this. So when you're talking to someone and they are trying to persuade you, or they're trying to be convincing, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's in a sales context or marketing context, but they're just talking about how they think and how they feel, and there's some sense of they want you to think and feel like they do, or rather that their way of thinking and feeling is valid. They will use phrases like "I think," and they'll emphasize with unnecessary repetition, like a little bit. I think I scare them a little bit. That's what someone says when they're trying to convince you that they scare them a little bit, but they're not scaring anybody. And you just became a little bit more resistant to manipulation today. How does that feel?